Hello and welcome to See Me Use Odoo. My name is Seth Meyer. I'm an implementation consultant at Odoo, and I take real world examples from my clients' requests, requirements, and I put them into a video to show you how to configure your Odoo database. So, in this episode, I have a client that has been asking me to create an asset management app for them. It is going to be a simple app that uses Studio to collect fields, including the asset name, the value of that asset, who's responsible for it. And so in this video, I'll be able to demonstrate a lot of the functionality of our studio fields. And so I am in a clean database right now. It has some data in it, but not a lot of apps. And I have my requirements in this document here. Great. Uh, Tip when it comes to project management is really just when it gets down to getting those requirements uh, being very precise. And so we have very precise requirements: name of the asset, purchase value, responsible employee, the employee region, the image of that asset, and then a description of that asset. And so I will be spending some time with you creating that app here. And so what we want to do is start by going into our studio view, which is going to be that little wrench and pencil here. And now we have the option to create our own app. It's going to give us this great little welcome, and we have an option to choose an app name. We can call this Asset Management, and we can design this however we'd like. We'll design this. We'll have a little monitor here because we are uh, we are managing assets with this app here. We also have the option to upload a photo if you have that instead. We can select next. You have the option to select an existing model uh, within our database or create a new model. We'll go ahead and create a new model, and the name of the menu here we can call assets. We'll select next. We have options for the features that we can use, including custom sorting, archiving, so the ability to archive records. Chatter is a feature where you can uh, really create a message thread between the users for an asset, so we can use that. We have options here to add lines. Tags are going to be important for us. We can have a user assignment attached to this. Don't need contact details because we'll have those contact details linked to that employee. We can use date and calendar. We can use picture, and then we could also use notes. So we have a lot of features here. And I wanted to, if I wanted a feature that I didn't check, we can always add that later. So we can now create our app. And here we are. Here is a baseline form view of our app here. We have some options, including description, date, name, responsible. We have a tab here to display some details. And then we have an option to add an image as well. So let's go ahead and start meeting our requirements, adding these, customizing these fields in a way that works uh, uh, for our asset management app. So instead of description, we can call this asset. Okay, perfect. And that's just going to be a simple text box. And so we have the ability to add that to edit that rather. And it is going to be a required field because we can't have a record without a name. We can see date here is just a date field, so we can change this to perhaps a date assigned field. Perhaps we want to know when exactly our laptop or other asset was assigned to an employee, so we want to make sure that we have that on record too. We have this responsible field here. We could take a look at what that is. That's going to be a many to one field, and let's actually remove that because I want to demonstrate how we can create our own many to one field. Okay, perfect. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I have these options for adding fields here, and I'm going to drag this many to one field right up above the date assigned, it's going to ask us for a relation to this. And so what we can do is look for a model that relates to the many to one we want. So we'll look for the employee model and we could select confirm. Perfect. And so again, that's a many to one. We can set that as a required field. And so we have to assign it to an employee, but perhaps we don't have this asset isn't assigned to an employee, so we don't need this uh, to be a required field. And so what we can do is we can now hop out of Studio for a moment just to see what that would look like if we try to change that. And so we have options here to select uh, our employee based on this drop down. You may not see it depending on the view right now, but you have a drop down here of all your employees that you have in your contacts app. Let's duplicate this tab here and open up our employees app. Okay, so here are our lovely employees, and we are able to assign this, let's say to Abigail Peterson. We could just start typing her name and assign it to her there. We can have a date assigned field for her. And so um, here we can say that she was assigned this on the 1st of June, and we can say she was assigned a Dell laptop. Perfect. And now let's hop back. Actually, let's go into our checklist here and make sure we have, we're checking off boxes. We have the name of the asset. We haven't added a purchase value, but we have added a responsible employee. We have the ability to add an image of the asset, which we can do by going back to this tab. And we see we have this option here. We can select edit and select our laptop here. So we have an image of our laptop. It is assigned to Abigail Peterson. The date assigned is going to be the 1st of June. And so we have uh, those requirements set. So we have a few others to get through here. Let's add the purchase value of that laptop. And so we can go back into our studio view, and now we can add a monetary uh, field here. We can add that on the right. When we do, we get this addition saying, in order to use monetary field, you need a currency field on the model. Do you want to create a currency field first? You can make this invisible afterwards. And so, yes, to create a monetary field, we need to have a currency field. We could select OK, and what it's going to do is create that currency field for us. And so what we can do now is we can hop out of Studio and take a look at our options for currency. Because this database is set up for US dollars only, we could just select US dollars. We could save that manually and go back into our Studio view. But like the pop-up suggests, I don't want the currency to be shown on here. That is redundant to me. That is not going to be helpful. So what we can do is we can make that invisible by checking this box here. Okay, so that is now invisible. But say you want to update that. Say you want to change that, move that somewhere, and you can't see it obviously because it's invisible. What you can do is uncheck, or rather check this box that says show invisible elements. So that is now visible, as well as this archived ribbon here and this checkbox up here. When you check this show invisible elements, it's going to show you every invisible element. And in Odoo, there are a lot of invisible elements depending on the configuration of your database. And so if ever you're in Studio and you're wondering if there are some extra features to use in your database, you can check the show invisible elements so you could see some of those other fields that you could use. But as I said, I want that invisible so we can remove that. Okay, so remember we have that currency uh, field, but we don't have that monetary field. So we can click and drag here, and now we have this new monetary field. Okay, we can change this to say uh, purchase value. Perfect. And we can hop out of Studio if we'd like and set that purchase value. Now, say we want to change this. We want to remove this from our view. So in Odoo, we don't delete these fields. We just remove them from the view, and that can make it uh, that can make it tricky when trying to pick from already existing views because uh, it will give you the option to add from existing views and add fields that you thought were gone but are just removed from view. And so what I like to do to make sure that we are not picking any old fields is to before we remove a field that we don't want anymore, we add a little code that to make sure that we're not going to accidentally pick it later. So I like to put do not use, this will do not use initials here. This will change that name to it. Oh, well, it should. Let me just hit enter. There we go. Do not use. And we can remove that from view. Are you sure you want to remove this from view? Yes, we can say OK. Okay, so that is removed from view. And let me show you what I mean. Uh, we have existing fields here. And among those existing fields are going to be the ones that we removed. And so that do not use purchase value is right there. And so say we're working with multiple purchase values, we don't want to get them confused. So let's click a and drag a new purchase value, and we'll call this purchase value once again. Perfect. So we have that purchase value. Let's go back to our document to make sure that we are checking off what we need for this asset management app. Okay, so we have that image for the asset, and we can also add a description for this asset. So currently you see here, it says description and it's giving you this list view. That's not exactly what we want because this is going to open up a different menu, and it would it's not exactly the going to meet the requirements that we'd like. And so what we can do is, again, we can remove this menu here by selecting remove view and selecting OK. And so we have this tab here that has nothing in it. We can add a text box here and call this text, let's see, asset description. Perfect. And now our employee, whoever's using this asset management app, can go in here and describe what the asset is, its specs, anything that we may want for our asset management. And so we can hop back to our checklist here and check this off. And so we have this option, or this requirement rather, to uh, create an employee region. And so, say you have a national company and your employee can be located at one of many offices. And so, we want to make sure that we know exactly which office this or region that this laptop is located in. So, what we can do, and we're going to need to hop out of Studio because we're going to go into our employees app and create a field in our employees app. We'll hop out of our asset management app using that little Rubik's Cube, and we can go into our employees app now, and we can select Abigail Peterson. And the great thing about Studio is when we edit one field, uh, when we edit one record rather, we change all the records. And so all we have to do is hop into Abigail Peterson, and it will make these changes to all of our records. And so the record that we want to make here is going to be which region uh, Abigail Peterson belongs to. And so we can use some options here, including text. We can also use many to ones, but let's use our selection tool. We have the selection field here. And now before we even enter in the name of this field, we want to enter in the values. And so we can add these different regions, and we can say, Buffalo, we can say Pittsburgh, we can say uh, DC. And so perhaps we have three regions we're working in: Buffalo, Pittsburgh, or DC. We can select confirm here. And so Abigail should belong to one of those three. Let's change the name to region. Perfect. And now we have this region field available to us. Let's go ahead and hop out of Studio and assign Abigail Peterson to a region. So Abigail Peterson, she is working in the Buffalo office. We can select save. And now that we have added that region, we can hop out of the employees app and back into the asset management app. You can see in the asset management app when we are out of Studio, the default is this list view. And so what will end up happening is a list of assets we will have that has the uh, asset as well as the responsible uh, right there for us. And so let's hop back into Studio here. And we're in this list view, but we don't want to be in this list view. We still want to work in our form view. We can select views here and go into our form view, and we are back to our form view that we've been familiar with so far. So again, we just added a region field to our employee record, and now we want the ability to assign that to or add that to this record here. And so what we want to do if there is a field in which we have to relate some specific information from one record to another, we would use what we call a related field. And so we can select and drag that right underneath the employee here. And now it is asking us which related field we want to use. There's this option here to select which field we want to use. And so we just have to map out the path to that field. So we use the employee app so we can hop into our employee model. And from there, we are able to find that field that we created. So we can scroll down and find it, or we could start typing, and there it is. Region is right there. We could select confirm. And now Buffalo is automatically appearing within that region field. It is a related field, is by default a read only field because it is already set in a different record. It is already set in our contacts record. So we can change the name of this to employee region. Perfect. And now let's check off this requirement here. And so we have uh, all of our requirements so far. We have the employee that we are going to be, that is assigned this product, um, the employee region, the date that it's been assigned, the purchase value of it. We have a description of it as well as a photo of it, but we're not done there. Our we just got some more requirements of some additional fields that we need to add. We need to add when our next subscription for a for our asset is. So maybe we don't have a subscription for this laptop per se, but perhaps we have an asset that is a license to a specific software, and we need to set the date for when that expires. We can create an additional field. We can go to add here, and we have a date and time field as well as just a date field. Don't think we need a time field when it comes to a deadline or an end to a subscription, so we could just add a date field here. Okay, so we can just add a name. We could add subscription expiration, and so we can manually enter what date the subscription expires. We don't have to make it required because some products you know don't have aren't subscription based, but we have that ability if we would like to. An additional thing that we want to do is add which vendor it came from. So who did we buy this product from? Maybe we need to return it if it breaks. And so what we can do is we can add an additional field, and really, we can add some options here, including a selection, a many to one. Add a uh, I'm going to add a many to one field. The reason that I'm going to do that is because I'm going to relate that to our contacts. Because if we need to send a product back to a vendor, I want to know where their address is. So I'm going to have them as a contact. So I'm going to take this many to one field and throw that right up here. And we are going to relate this to our contact model. How do we know which model that we are relating it to? Well, what we can do is we can go uh, out of our asset management app, and we have this others tab opened up. It's currently in employees, but we can hop out of there and into our contacts. Okay, so our contacts is anyone that is associated with this database, including vendors, customers, and employees. And so you see Abigail Peterson, for example, is one of our employees. She is a contact in here. What we can do is we can create a new contact and call it Dell. We have some options for selecting Dell as a company based on uh, some insights uh, provided to us by the internet. So we have some different Dell options, but we'll just enter our information in manually. Okay, so we have 123 Dell Street. We can continue to add more information if we'd like, but we'll stick to this information now. Creating contacts manually, we'll save for a different video. So we've created Dell as a company here, and now we can hop back into uh, our studio field or our studio view here. And again, we are still looking for which which model to relate this to. And so we have some options here, and contact is obviously going to be the right one. But if it's not as easy to figure out which model we're going to use, say we have 12 apps in our database, and so there's a lot of different models to choose from, we can select search more, and it tells us different models that we have in our database. So if we go to our contacts app here and we look right up in the URL, we could see a model, and when it says model equals the next phrase here, this res dot partner is the name of the model that we need to relate it to. So that is going to be standard across the board in Odoo. And so if you ever need to know what model you're in, just check the URL. So we need res dot partner, and so we can look for that. We can scroll through it and look for it, or we can use the search bar to type it in. It looks like throwing up a bit of an error for me. So let me just try that once more. We can add a many to one field and search more. And it looks like our search bar is not working at the moment, but we have this res dot partner model here that we can click confirm. I think the internet was just being a little slow, and that's why it wasn't being very reactive to us. So we have our contact. Whoop. So we have our contact field here, and we can move that around. It looks like it's giving us a bit of trouble moving it there, but that is okay. We could just select the undo button to have that back there, and we can just add it right there. We can just call this vendor. Oh, and now it goes to where it needs to be. Thank you, Studio. And so let's hop out of close here, and we can fill in this information. We have a drop down menu here that we can choose from, and we can select Dell, or if it's a different company, say it's not Dell, we're actually using HP. Maybe we don't have HP as a contact. What we can do right from our many to one field is create and edit that. And so if we create and edit, we can create a whole new record on the fly right here in our asset management app. We can save and close, and now we have HP as our vendor. We could set up a purchase value for that, a subscription expiration, say maybe it's a software and it expires at the end of next month. We can have that set as well. Okay, perfect. So we have everything we need here. We have a place for notes as well as details. We have a responsible employee and the employee's region, the vendor and the purchase value of this, as well as the subscription expiration. Alrighty, so that is how we are able to create our asset management app in Odoo with this form view. So if we want to use these breadcrumbs to hop out of our Dell laptop and into our asset list view, we have some options here for adding a list view. And so those include the asset and the responsible. So if you remember at the beginning, we removed responsible as a field, and so we can enter in Studio and remove responsible. Remember, we're going to add that DNU tag, and we are going to remove that from view. Okay, so we can select close, and we can check out this kebab to see if there's anything else to add here, and it's going to ask us to add a custom field. So we can add a custom field here and use existing fields to display information that we have in our form view. Say we want our employee listed here. We can add our employee. We can even add our purchase value to this. Remember, we don't want to select the DNU purchase value, so we are going to select uh, the purchase value that we are using. And as you're seeing, these are populating in our list view automatically. And so we can add some more. We can add subscription expiration. Perhaps we want to know exactly when that's going to expire. So we want to have that on there. Perfect. Okay, so we have some information here in our list view: subscription expiration, asset, employee, purchase value. The great thing about this is we are able to sort it by uh, the each one of these fields. And so employee, we can sort this alphabetically. So if we had Bart Simpson as an employee in the next view, Bart Simpson's going to come second because it's going to be A's before B's. Same thing with our asset. It's going to be alphabetical. When it comes to subscription expiration, it's going to be the soonest first, which is going to be great for people that need to know when that subscription expiration is. We also have purchase value that we can choose from as well. Now that we've added those views to our list view, we have the option using this kebab menu to remove or add those back into our list view. And so that is how we are able to create that simple asset management app in Odoo so that we can track the value of our assets, where our assets are, uh, who is responsible for them, and what the subscription expiration is. So this has been a real life use case of Odoo and its functionality to use the asset management app. So definitely recommend that you try it out yourself. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or want some further exploration in different topics. And we'll see you in the next one.